There are people you met once who still live in your head rent-free. You replay something they said. You wonder what they are doing. You think about a single sentence they gave you 3 years ago and find yourself measuring your decisions against it without even knowing why. And then there are people you spent hours with last week who you have not thought about since. What is the difference? It is not intelligence. It is not physical appearance. It is not how hard they tried to make you like them. If anything, the people who tried hardest to make an impression are almost always the ones you forget first. Because trying to leave an impression is exactly what prevents a real one from forming. The people who stay in your head are the ones who seem to need nothing from you, who said something that opened rather than closed, who left the room while the energy was still alive, who were so clearly occupied with their own direction that your observation of them felt like watching something that would have existed the same way whether you were watching or not. That quality, the gravity of a person who is completely in possession of themselves, is not something you are born with. It is not traditional charisma. It is something built through very specific daily choices about how you inhabit your life, how you engage with people, how you speak, and when you stop. This video is about those choices, not how to perform mystery, not how to manipulate, the real conditions that make some people genuinely impossible to stop thinking about, and what you would need to build those conditions in yourself. If this channel is new to you, subscribe to the Stoic Truth right now. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and let us get into this. The first thing to understand is what the mind does with the people it encounters. Your mind does not remember people the way a camera records a scene. It simplifies, it compresses, it takes the full complexity of a human being and reduces them to a handful of impressions it can store quickly. And the reason it does this is simple. Paying full, ongoing attention to every person you have ever met would be exhausting. So the brain finds shortcuts. It categorizes, it labels, it decides what someone is and files it away. And the moment someone feels completely figured out to you, they become background, not because they are boring, not because they have nothing to offer, but because the work of figuring them out is done. There is no open question, no reason to keep thinking. The file is closed. This is the thing most people never realize about presence. The goal is not to make someone feel like they fully understand you. The goal is to make sure they never quite do. Not by being confusing, not by being fake or difficult, simply by being genuinely layered in a way that takes time to discover, by not rushing to show every side of yourself in the first conversation, by giving people something real without giving them everything at once. Oscar Wilde once said to define is to limit. The moment you feel fully defined to someone, your presence in their mind begins to shrink. Because definition is the end of curiosity, and curiosity is the only thing that keeps you in someone's thoughts after you leave the room. Think about the most memorable person you have ever met. Were they the one who explained themselves the most? Or were they the one who gave you just enough to feel like you understood something while making you aware there was still more you had not seen? That is the difference. And it is not a trick. It is the natural result of someone who has so much going on inside themselves that one conversation simply cannot contain all of it. Drop a comment below and tell me honestly, when you are in a conversation with someone, what percentage of your attention is genuinely on them versus on how you are coming across? Because that number tells you everything about where your presence currently lives. Here is where most people go wrong when they hear this principle. They decide to withhold, to strategically hold back information, to create artificial mystery by giving away less of themselves. That approach fails every time. And it fails for one simple reason. The thing that creates genuine presence is not the behavior of restraint. It is the internal condition that makes restraint happen naturally. And that condition has nothing to do with strategy. It is simply this: you have enough going on inside yourself that you are genuinely more interested in your own direction than in managing how other people see you. You have opinions you actually developed rather than borrowed. You care about things that have nothing to do with being seen caring about them. You know where you are going with enough clarity that who is watching you get there is honestly less interesting to you than the getting there. When that is true about you, restraint is not something you practice. It just happens. You are not withholding because you calculated that withholding is attractive. You are simply present in what you are doing rather than monitoring how it appears. And people feel that difference immediately, even when they cannot name it. There is something about being with a person who is genuinely not managing your impression of them that creates immediate relief. Like you can relax, like the interaction is actually real rather than being performed by both sides. That is what you want to build, not the look of it, the actual thing. Subscribe to the Stoic Truth right now if you are not already here. This is the kind of work we do every single week. Now let us talk about the 4 specific things that make someone impossible to stop thinking about. The first is this: they do not over-explain. Most people fill every gap. They clarify everything because the thought of being misunderstood feels dangerous. They make sure every position is fully understood and every silence is quickly filled. But in doing this, they leave the person they are talking to with nothing to think about after they have gone. Every gap was already filled. Every question was already answered. There was no open thread, nothing for the other person's mind to keep working on. The silence at the end of a thought is not a failure to communicate. It is an invitation for the other person's mind to enter. And a mind that does work to understand you holds on to you in a way that a mind handed everything simply does not. The next time you catch yourself explaining something that did not need explaining, or filling a silence that would have done more work if you had let it breathe, ask yourself whether you are satisfying curiosity or erasing it. Because once curiosity is gone, so are you. The second thing is emotional range. Most people operate in a narrow register, same tone, same energy, same kind of response in nearly every situation. They do this because it feels like control. But the brain does not remember consistency. It remembers contrast. It remembers the moment the pattern changed. The usually calm person who showed genuine feeling about something they cared about. The usually confident person who admitted uncertainty about something real. The usually direct person who fell quiet because what they were thinking was too honest for immediate words. These moments stay in people's minds, not because they were dramatic, because they were unexpected. And unexpected moments create the kind of attention that follows you out of the room. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "The only journey is the one within." He was pointing at something that applies directly here. The people who have the most range outwardly are almost always the ones doing the most honest work on the inside. The genuine emotion that surfaces at the right moment does not come from performance. It comes from actually feeling things deeply because you have been paying genuine attention to your own experience. This does not mean performing emotions you do not feel. It means letting your real reactions be occasionally visible rather than smoothing everything into the same controlled presentation. It means trusting that your genuine responses, the ones you usually manage for the audience, are actually the most interesting things about you. The person who is always the same becomes invisible. The person who has range, who can shift naturally between warmth and focus, between certainty and honest doubt, creates in other minds the experience of someone who is fully alive. And fully alive people are impossible to release. The third thing is knowing when to stop. Every conversation has a peak, a moment where the energy is highest and both people are most present. Most people stay past that peak. They stretch the interaction until it fades. They keep going until what started as something alive has become something that is just continuing because neither person has found the exit. What the mind remembers is not the peak. It remembers how the thing ended. The slow fade is what gets stored. The strong moment gets compressed into the general feeling of everything that followed it. Now imagine the opposite. You leave while the conversation is still at its best, while there is still something left to say, while the other person is still leaning in. The mind does not register that as completion, it registers it as interruption. And an interrupted thought is one the mind keeps working on. It replays the last moment. It wonders what would have come next. And in wondering, it keeps returning to you. This is not about being cold or creating artificial distance. It is about understanding that what you preserve at its peak is worth more than what you exhaust past it. A 10-minute conversation that ended at its best will be thought about more than a 3-hour conversation that faded slowly into nothing. Learn to notice when a moment is at its best, and instead of trying to maintain it, step back. Leave while it is still good. Trust that what was there is enough. The fourth thing, and maybe the most important, is the absence of need. There is a very specific feeling that transfers between people when someone needs something from an interaction. You might not be able to name exactly what you are sensing, but you feel it. The attention being given is also waiting for something. The warmth being offered is checking whether it is being received. The presence in the room is monitoring your reaction to it. And even when you like the person, even when you enjoy the conversation, something about that underlying need makes the whole thing slightly heavier than it should be. This is what happens when someone has not built enough on the inside. That outside confirmation becomes optional for them. When their emotional state rises and falls based on how well the interaction is going, when they leave feeling good only if they sensed that they left a good impression. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer wrote one line about this that I think is worth carrying with you. He said, "The person who needs no approval is free." And that freedom shows in everything, in how someone speaks, in how they listen, in how they leave. There is an ease that comes from not needing anything from the moment, except what the moment actually is. When your life is full beyond any single interaction, when you have your own direction and your own priorities that exist independently of how people receive you, your attention becomes genuinely valuable. It is something offered rather than something needed. And what is offered freely carries a completely different weight than what is desperately sought. People do not think about the person who needed them. They think about the person who did not, the person who was warm but not desperate, present but not dependent, interested but requiring nothing back for the interest to continue. That is the person they cannot release. So what does building all of this actually look like? It does not look dramatic. It looks like a series of small, consistent choices made in the ordinary moments of your daily life. It looks like developing opinions that came from your own thinking. Sitting with a question long enough to know what you actually believe, rather than immediately reaching for what everyone around you believes. It looks like caring about things privately, having interests and pursuits that exist for your own satisfaction, rather than for how they appear to others. doing the work when no one is watching the same way you would do it if they were. It looks like getting comfortable with silence, with not explaining when explanation was not asked for, with letting your words carry their own weight without immediately reinforcing them. It looks like learning to leave at the right time, conversations and moments at their peak rather than their fade, not as a strategy, because you have enough waiting for you that extending yourself beyond the natural end of something genuinely costs more than it gives. And more than anything, it looks like building a life that genuinely occupies you. A direction, things that matter, a way of seeing the world that is actually yours. Because all the specific qualities we talked about, the restraint, the range, the knowing when to leave, the absence of need, all of them emerge naturally from a person who is fully inhabited in their own existence. The writer Henry David Thoreau put it plainly: go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined. What he meant is not just ambition. He meant the specific quality of someone who is so genuinely engaged with where they are going that the noise around them, including the noise of managing other people's perception of them, simply does not compete for their attention. You cannot perform the version of yourself that other people cannot stop thinking about. You can only build it. And you build it not in the interactions themselves, but in all the time between them, in the private hours when no one is watching, in the choices about what you give your attention to and what you decide actually matters. The person you cannot stop thinking about from 3 years ago was probably not thinking about you while they were with you. They were occupied with their own life. And that is exactly why you cannot stop thinking about them. Build a life that occupied by, and the rest takes care of itself. If this video reached something real in you, hit the like button right now and share it with someone who has been exhausting themselves trying to maintain a presence when what they actually need to do is build one. Subscribe to The Stoic Truth if you are not already here. Every week we come back and do this work together. The next video is already on your screen. Stop trying to be remembered. Start being someone worth remembering. Those are two completely different projects, and only one of them actually works.